I used to think affairs started with intention, a conscious decision, a plan, a spark, but for me, it started with a boarding pass, Gate B12, Thursday afternoon. Row 19C.IT was just another business trip, one of many I'd taken that quarter. Another hotel, another slide deck, another polite nod to the same set of faces I half recognized across Zoom windows every Monday. I wasn't looking for anything. I was 35, married, still wore my wedding ring, still sent on the way texts to my husband out of habit, even if he stopped replying with anything more than okay. We hadn't fought in months, but we also hadn't kissed in longer than that. It wasn't hate, just the slow erosion of whatever magic used to live in the space between "how was your day" and "don't forget to take the trash out." When I saw Andrew at the gate, I didn't think much. He looked like someone's husband. Pressed shirt, reading glasses, a laptop open on his tray table, screen tilted just enough to suggest privacy but not paranoia. He glanced up, then did a double take when he saw me. "You're Rachel, right? From the inside team?" I smiled. "Yeah. You're Andrew from Denver?" Guilty. We shook hands like strangers playing dress-up in executive clothes. The flight was delayed by 40 minutes. We made small talk in the terminal. Coffee cups, regional leads, the never-ending onboarding cycle, corporate life in soft gray tones, nothing flirtatious, nothing dangerous, just two people killing time. By the time we landed, it was already past p.m. I had a headache from the recycled air and too much caffeine. The company had booked us both into the same hotel chain, standard mid-tier, comfortable but forgettable. Our rooms were on the same floor. We laughed about that. I said, "Guess we'll be passing in the hallway all weekend." He smiled, polite. "Hope we don't get our keycards mixed up." I remember thinking that was such a nothing statement, but hours later, in hindsight, it would feel like a prophecy. We went our separate ways that night. I changed into leggings, ordered room service, opened my laptop, answered 3 emails I could have ignored, watched half a Netflix episode and fell asleep before it ended, alone, like I had most nights the past year. Friday morning, we were in meetings from 9 to 4. Andrew was sharp, dry humor, precise insights, the kind of guy who makes everyone else in the room pay attention without trying too hard. He made a joke about budget cuts that actually landed. I laughed harder than I should have. So did a few others. At lunch, we sat 2 chairs apart. He passed me the bread basket without me asking. Another small thing I wouldn't have noticed if I wasn't starving for attention. By dinner, most of the team had scattered. Some went back to their rooms, others out drinking. He and I lingered in the hotel bar, said we'd grab a quick bite. "Nothing fancy," he said. "Just food before bed." I agreed, told myself it was harmless, that my husband would have done the same in my place. We talked about work at first, then, slowly, about everything else, about how marriage isn't always what people promise it'll be, about how routines replace affection, about how some days feel like an echo chamber of past versions of yourself. He said, "Sometimes I feel like I'm living next to my wife, not with her." I didn't answer that, not because I disagreed, but because it was too easy to agree. He noticed, said quietly, "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that." "No," I replied. "You said exactly what I've been trying not to say." For months, we didn't finish our drinks, just sat there in the low lighting, watching ice melt in glasses and time stretch between pauses. At 10:30 p.m., we left the bar together, not touching, not planning anything, just walking in the same direction. Our rooms were across the hall from each other. He paused at his door, looked at me, and in that moment, I swear nothing was said, but everything was decided. He opened his door. I hesitated. My hand was already on my keycard, my heart somewhere between my throat and my knees. He didn't say, "Come in," didn't reach for me. He just left the door slightly open and walked inside. I stood there for 5 seconds, then 10, and then I followed. The moment I stepped into his room, the air felt different, warmer, not in temperature, but in gravity, the kind of warmth that settles around your chest and tightens just slightly, like the universe holding its breath. Andrew didn't turn on all the lights, just the one by the desk. A soft amber glow lit the space enough to see, but not enough to feel exposed. He didn't touch me, not yet. I stood just inside the doorway, my keycard still in my hand, heart pounding like it didn't know what I was doing, and maybe I didn't. He sat on the edge of the bed, looked up at me, said softly, "We don't have to do anything. You can leave whenever you want." It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't a dare. It was a safety net. And I hated that I needed it. I said nothing, just walked over and sat beside him, leaving enough space for propriety, but not enough for denial. We didn't speak for a long time. The TV was on mute, some late-night news anchor mouthing out headlines. No one was hearing. He turned to me, and I turned to him, and then we kissed. No warning, no slow lean in, just contact, desperate, soft, familiar, and foreign all at once. It didn't feel like the start of an affair. It felt like the end of pretending, because for months, maybe years, we'd both been walking through our lives like actors who forgot their lines, smiling at dinner tables, nodding through conversations, sleeping in beds that felt colder than the floor. And now this moment, it wasn't about lust. It was about breath, about being able to finally exhale around someone again. When he touched my cheek, I didn't flinch. When I reached for his shirt, he didn't stop me. Clothes came off slowly, like we were both still unsure. There was no roughness, no rush, just skin and silence and the quiet realization that nothing would be the same after this. Afterwards, we lay there in the dark. The AC hummed. The hotel fridge clicked on. He whispered, "I don't know what this means," I said. "Me neither," and I meant it, because part of me wanted to cry, part of me wanted to laugh, and part of me, the part I hated, felt alive. We didn't sleep much, not because of what we did, but because of what we didn't say. I left his room at 5:10 a.m., walked barefoot across the hallway with my heels in one hand, my blazer slung over the other, and guilt creeping up my spine like cold fingers. My husband had texted, "Hope you're sleeping okay. Don't forget your 9 a.m. I stared at the screen for a full minute, typed, then deleted, finally sent, "Thanks, you too." It felt so wrong, so normal, like betrayal could live in your pocket and still let you function. At 8:30, we met again, Andrew and I, in the hotel lobby, dressed like nothing happened. He said, "Morning," I said, "Morning," and just like that, we became people who had a secret. No one noticed. We gave our presentation, took questions, shook hands, played roles so convincingly, even we started to believe them again. That night, we flew home on separate flights. No dramatic goodbye, no whispered promises, just a glance in the airport terminal and a soft "take care." But in my inbox 12 hours later, there was an unread message. "I can't stop thinking about you." I stared at it for a long time, then replied, "Me neither." I thought it would stop after the trip. I thought we'd both go home, kiss our spouses, bury the guilt, and move on. That's what grown-ups do, right? Make mistakes, learn from them, swear it'll never happen again. but some mistakes feel too good to leave behind, and some silences are too hard to go back to. Andrew messaged me the night we got home, just one line, "Are you okay?" I told myself not to answer, that if I left it unread, it would fade, that if I ignored it, the part of me that wanted him would go quiet, but it did end single quotes t.so I typed, "Not really." From there, it unraveled fast. A late-night message turned into a string of voice notes, then into FaceTime calls at odd hours, then into Google Calendar invites masked as sync catch-ups. We told ourselves it was just connection, that we weren't doing anything wrong as long as it wasn't physical. Again, but we were lying. To our spouses, to ourselves, because when your heart is wrapped around someone else's voice at a M, when your smile appears for a man who's not your husband, you've already crossed every line that matters. It wasn't just lust. It was attention. It was emotional escape. He told me things he'd never told his wife. I told him how I sometimes cried in the shower so my husband wouldn't see. He said, "You make me feel like I haven't flatlined." I said, "You make me feel seen." We sent photos harmless at first. A coffee cup, a desk view, a wristwatch, then came the selfies. Then a video of him laughing in his car. Then a photo of me in bed, not naked, but not innocent. He replied with, "I wish I were there," and I wished it too, even as I lay next to a man who'd once promised me forever. A man who still made coffee every morning, who still paid the bills, who still loved me in his quiet, distant way. But love doesn't always protect you from loneliness, and loneliness doesn't always look like silence. Sometimes it looks like politeness, like "How was work?" Like two people scheduling intimacy, like a dentist appointment. My husband asked me if I was okay one night, just out of nowhere. I froze, then said, "Yeah, just tired." He nodded, went back to his emails. Did he believe me? Or did he already know, somewhere deep down, that I wasn't just tired? Andrew said he felt the same, that his wife had stopped asking questions years ago, that routine had replaced affection, that they didn't fight because fighting requires passion. I asked him, "Do you still love her?" He paused, then said, "I don't even know what that word means anymore." Neither did I, and yet I still held on to the lie. I made dinner, folded laundry, kissed my husband goodbye in the mornings, then checked my phone 3 times before noon to see if Andrew had texted. We were building something unspoken but undeniable, a parallel reality where we mattered, where we weren't invisible, where we could say all the things we couldn't say at home. It wasn't sustainable, but neither of us wanted to let it go, and so we fed it, one message at a time, one sigh, one confession, one blurry photo from a hotel mirror during another offsite we pretended was mandatory. I started making excuses. To my husband, to my team, to myself. The distance between truth and survival had never felt thinner, and in that space, Andrew was everything, and I was no longer just a wife. I was a woman living in 2 lives at once, both crumbling quietly. We weren't supposed to see each other again. At least not in person. The last time had nearly broken us both. We promised, we swore that what happened in that hotel room would stay in the past. But then the annual convention was announced. 3 days, 1 city, every regional manager, senior lead, and exec in the same hotel tower. Andrew and I were both on the invite list. We didn't acknowledge it, not over text, not in our calls. We danced around it like a fire too close to the curtain. Then 2 nights before the event, he sent, "I'll be at the bar Friday night, 10 p.m. I stared at it for 10 minutes, typed back, "I shouldn't," then added, But I will. The first 2 days of the convention were a blur, workshops, panels, applause at the right times, polite networking and forced smiles. Andrew and I didn't speak, not publicly, not even through glances. We'd perfected the act by now, but the tension was unbearable. It sat between us in every elevator, every lunch break, every hallway where we passed each other like strangers. By Friday, I was unraveling. My husband had texted, "Have fun. Wish I was with you." I stared at the screen and felt like I was standing outside my own skin. At 9:58 p.m., I stood outside the hotel bar in a black dress I'd packed just in case. At 10:01, he walked in. We didn't say hello, just sat, 2 seats at the far end. Away from the windows, drinks came. We barely touched them. We talked about the conference, about the weather, about how his wife had started painting again, about how I'd started running, as if that could outrun what we'd become. Then he looked at me. "I miss you," just 3 words, but they hit like a blade because I missed him too. Not just the messages, not just the intimacy, I missed the version of me that existed with him seen, heard, alive. I didn't plan to kiss him, but when we stood up to leave and lingered near the back hallway by the service elevator, I didn't move away when he leaned in. It was soft, quick, familiar, too familiar. I opened my eyes and saw her, Jenna, operations lead from the Boston office, standing just a few feet away, frozen, mouth half open, eyes wide. She didn't say anything. She just turned and walked, fast, like she didn't want the shame to stick to her clothes. The next morning, everything felt different. People looked at me too long, or not at all. I heard my name whispered as I passed. Jenna didn't speak to me, didn't even look at me. By lunchtime, I was pulled aside by an HR representative. "Just a quick check-in," she said, smiled like she didn't already know. There was no formal accusation, just probing questions. Had I maintained professional boundaries? Was there anything I'd like to disclose? Was I aware of the company's personal conduct guidelines? I lied smoothly, and yet I knew it was only a matter of time. Andrew and I stopped texting that weekend, not because we wanted to, but because the walls were closing in. Monday morning, my director requested a private call, said there were concerns, that a transfer might be best, that certain colleagues had lost trust in my judgment. I didn't argue. There was nothing left to protect. At home, my husband asked if something had happened at the event. I said no too quickly. He didn't believe me, but he didn't press, because what do you do when the person you love is slipping and you're too tired to chase? The fallout wasn't loud. It was slow. Andrew went quiet. Our call stopped. Our shared Google folder for Project X was deleted. I removed the hotel keycard from my wallet and placed it in a drawer I never opened. But I didn't throw it away, because some ghosts don't haunt you through screams. They whisper, and they look exactly like you. I still have the key. It's a standard hotel keycard, white plastic with the chain's logo printed in faint gray, a tiny magnetic strip along the back. It doesn't open any doors anymore. Not literally, and not metaphorically either, but I keep it tucked inside a small jewelry box on the top shelf of my closet, right beside a charm bracelet I haven't worn since college, and the first pair of earrings my ex-husband ever gave me. The keycard isn't a souvenir, it's a scar in solid form, a reminder of a night that felt like oxygen and ended in ashes. Andrew and I haven't spoken in over a year. No texts, no emails, not even an accidental LinkedIn like. Last I heard, he and his wife were in therapy, working on things, trying to rebuild trust. as mutual acquaintances put it. I hope it works, not because I think he deserves it, but because I know what it feels like to be the reason something breaks and the one who has to live in the rubble afterward. My own marriage didn't explode. It just deflated quietly. One day, he stopped waiting up for me. Another, he stopped asking where I'd been. The day I told him, really told him, he didn't cry. He just said, I knew. I just didn't want to know. We separated 3 months later. No lawyers, no screaming, just signed papers and a split Spotify account. I moved out, took the couch, the coffee maker, the wedding album I now keep in a box I never open. Work didn't last either. After the HR incident, they didn't fire me, but they restructured me out. No one said the word affair. No one said his name, but everyone knew. So I left, started freelancing again, built a quiet little life on the edge of town, small apartment, smaller circle of friends, big silences. Sometimes I still wake up at AM and check my phone, not because I expect a message, but because habit is a cruel, faithful thing. There are days when I almost feel normal again, days when I work, cook, water the plants, call my sister, watch some movies, and don't think about him. And then there are days when a certain cologne wafts by in the grocery store aisle, or a name tag reads Andrew at a coffee shop counter, or a hotel keycard falls out of a book I forgot I hid it in, and everything returns. Not the feeling of being wanted, not even the sex or the adrenaline, just the shame, the dull, permanent kind. The kind that doesn't scream, it sits beside you, brushing your hand in the dark when you think you're alone. People ask if I regret it, and I always hesitate, because regret implies I wish it never happened. But the truth is, a part of me needed it to happen. Not the affair, not the betrayal, but the collapse. I needed to fall to realize how far I had drifted from the person I once promised I'd be. That keycard, it doesn't unlock anything anymore, but I keep it. So I never forget what happens when you open a door you can't close again.